You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn connects you with experts from all over the world to help you take charge of your career, your business, and your life. Rap along with us. Visit drjacalyn.com to learn how to become a guest or a sponsor. And now, the doctor is in.
Hello and welcome back. We hope that this is not the first show you've seen and that you've been here before. We are so happy to have you. You are watching Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn in the Name of Love. I am your host, executive producer, director, and broadcast engineer. And this show is all about spreading love, spreading joy, and hearing stories of people out there making a difference every single day. My guest today is Alima Jalloh-North. Let's bring her on. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good evening. Good evening, Jacalyn.
It's so nice to see you. Your story really fascinated me in a lot of ways, but you were born in Freetown, Sierra Leone in West Africa. You've moved around. You're currently in the UK. And the one thing that really amazed me so much is the work that you've done with the NHS for 27 and a half years, working with people who have dementia. And that's so important because we're finding more and more people are struggling with this. So where would you like to start your story? Because you've accomplished so much, and I want to get into all of it. Should we start when you were in West Africa?
Yes. My name is Alima Jalloh-North, and I was born in Freetown, Sierra Leone, West Africa. I have an older brother, and my mom was a divorcee. We lived in one bedroom in the east end of town, and we were very, 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 very poor, and things were very, very hard. My mom didn't work, and my mom had to look after my grandmother when my dad kicked my mom out of his house because he found another wife. So we had to go and live with my grandmother in one room, one mattress, no wardrobe, no suitcase, nothing. We had to sleep on the floor, and my grandmother's best bedroom was next to a latrine, so we had to shower outside. And as a young child growing up in Sierra Leone, I just knew my fate wasn't where it started. I had a very, very loud personality. I've always been an extrovert, and I'm a very confident woman. So my grandmother was my main carer. She looked after me when my mom decided to do some business, to go around the different parts of Sierra Leone to do trading. So she left us with our grandmother, my brother and I. And so my grandmother was always amused about what an interesting little girl I had grown up to be. And she wanted to embrace my thinking and allowed me to express myself freely. Most of the people in the neighborhood weren't very amused. And they thought, well, you have to be very strict with this girl. A child must not be heard. We have to be silent. And my grandmother didn't allow that to interfere with her thinking. She said that she wanted to be the last submissive generation, and she was going to embrace my personality. And that's what happened. My grandmother, we took her to school, my brother and I, even though she never went to school. My brother and I were the first generation to actually be educated. So I went to school in Freetown. And at the age of 9, I decided I wanted to go and live with my father, my natural father. And I was very, very excited about it. I went to live with my father, and things were fine because it was just him at home at the time. This was in the province of Sierra Leone, the southern province of Sierra Leone, a place called Moyamba. So I was there, and I attended St. Joseph's Primary School. Then something happened.
So I'm sorry to interrupt. I have a question for you. So it sounds like already at this young age, you had already gone through so much, and your grandmother became a really pivotal person in your life.
Yes, she is. Yes, she was. Yes, bless her soul. Yes. So
So,
I
a
went to
question
live
I
with my dad. Okay.
so a question I had, you had mentioned before about your father, and then you decided to go with him. Growing up, the way that you did with your grandmother having such a strong influence, did you have any resentment or anger towards men at that time? Boys, men?
Well, I just didn't trust men because I didn't have any role model. The neighborhood was full of drunk people were drunk, women were beaten up, and it was just a rough neighborhood, so there was no role model. And I just knew as a young child I didn't want that life. I didn't know what the future held, but I knew I didn't belong in that environment. So I was yearning for a fatherly figure love, and I went to live with my dad, as I was saying. Then my stepmother arrived. As soon as my stepmother arrived with my dad, and she started beating me up, my brother and I. We got beaten up daily. We were beaten up and we were starved. We didn't have much food to eat. She will feed her children. We'll be starved, and and so on and so forth. We had second-hand clothes. My dad just changed when she arrived because she had a baby and she'd gone to stay a couple of months with her parents, so she came back to my dad, and it was a very, very difficult time and really, really horrific. My brother and I my dad will run the bath and he will drown my brother and I in the bath. I know this is a very, very sensitive topic, but I really have to say it because I'm still healing through it. And my dad will drown my brother and I and get his belt off his trousers and give us a good serious beating. We'll be bruised on our eyes, our legs, and we'll go to school the next day. We'll be bleeding. It was really, really hard time, and I still wanted my dad. I was just yearning as a 9-year-old child just to feel loved. I just wanted my dad to acknowledge me, to just say, oh, here's my little girl, your daddy's girl. I just wanted that love and what most little girls want, and it just never happened. The beating just went on and on. My dad didn't do nothing about it. When my dad came from work, I would be more beaten up, and my dad didn't listen to us. And then suddenly, my grandmother decided to bring me back to Freetown. And a few years later, I arrived in England. My stepfather is from Bournemouth. He married my mother when I was about 4 or 5 years old. So this is his hometown, Bournemouth. So I came to Bournemouth for a 6 weeks holiday, and I'm still here 39 years later.
Uh, First of all, I just want to thank you for sharing your story, because that is a lot to take in. I can't imagine what you went through. My co-host Kimmy Seltzer is here, and she's also a therapist, so I'd like to bring her on. Hi, Kimmy.
Hi there.
Hi. So, Alima, you shared a story that no matter where you turned, you were getting pain. And it sounds like the only bright light was your grandmother. So your father, it sounds like he just looked away. He didn't try to keep you safe. He didn't participate in the beatings, did he?
He did, yes, he did.
Because he and your mother.
My stepmother had stories to tell him each day when he got home from work, that we were naughty, my brother and I, and we were the servants in the house. My brother and I woke up at 5:30 to do all the housework, carry buckets of water on our head to feed her 2 children. So we were just slaves, unpaid slaves. And yet she'll make up all these lies about us. She will torture us. She'll put cayenne pepper in our eyes and lock us in a room, my brother and I. And it's just, all these things are still haunting me after all these years. It's just been... Sorry, I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
It's just been so hard to talk about this. Obviously, I've only been able to talk about this through therapy, and when I wrote my book in 2019. It's just such a sensitive topic. I just didn't realize talking about it now will make me feel so emotional. I am sorry. It's really left a big scar in my heart and my life, and I'm just so grateful and blessed that I've always had a positive attitude to life. I think that's the only thing that's kept me sane, just being positive. I always know there's light at the end of the tunnel because I knew that situation wasn't going to be permanent. I knew I wasn't going to be a little Alima for long. I was going to grow up to be an adult, to be able to make my own choice. And I'm so glad that I did grow up to live that. And it was good that I left Sierra Leone immediately after that. And I still find it so hard to visit Sierra Leone. After all these years, I haven't been for 20 years. But every time I go there, I feel so much pain.
Well, so brave of you to share your story. And I'm wondering, you're obviously very emotional. Do you feel any sense of relief by sharing it, knowing that you're going to be helping other people?
Yes, because I'm sure there are a lot of people in different parts of the world that have gone through the same experience I've had with their step-parent, whether stepdad, stepmom, or even people that just care for them. There's so many children that have been left lumbered with, whether it's auntie, uncle, granddad, who are getting abused. And it just seemed at the time it was like a normal, it was the norm. Those things were accepted. And I just thank God that things have moved forward now, 21st century. These things are no longer acceptable. No child should go through what I've gone through. A child should be loved. We want to feel loved when you're a child. You want to feel nurtured. You just want to embrace a little girl or a little boy. A child must be valued. What is the point in having children if you're not going to value them? It's pointless. People shouldn't just have children for the sake of it. Looking after kids, it's a massive responsibility, which I'll come to in a minute later on in my experience in England. Children need to be heard. Adults should listen to what children are saying. I'm lucky being an extrovert. I could actually express my feeling, but people who are quiet and more reserved, they don't have that. They can't do it. And they suffer in silence and get all the help. There's lots of help out there for children. There's got to be somebody you can talk to, whether it's your teacher at school or a neighbor, just anyone. Just share your pain with someone so you can get the help you need, so that you don't end up being a damaged adult like I have been. Because I didn't get that help from a childhood, because I never spoke about that since I left Sierra Leone. This is the second time I'm talking about it now. Obviously, I've spoken about it with my therapy, which I've had the last 2 years, because since I wrote my book, a lot of things have opened, a lot of wounds, and I'm healing slowly. It might take a lifetime, but at least I've been able to talk about it. And then there's the female circumcision as well, that aspect of it. My story is just... it will be here all day if I have to talk about it. I'm still in a lot of pain. So as I said, I came to England. I came to school in England, a girls' school in Bournemouth. And that was very hard, because my mom didn't tell me that I was going to just be here for 6 weeks. 4 weeks into my summer holiday, she said, "Oh, you're not going back to Sierra Leone." In a way, I was glad, because I didn't want to have the memory of my dad. But I hadn't been able to say goodbye to my friends. So I was lumbered in boarding school. I know I should be grateful, but when you're a child, you just take everything for granted, right? So I was left in a English boarding school, all girls. I had my strong African accent. I didn't understand the English culture. And Bournemouth is a very, very typical English town, very, very racist. I could go for weeks and weeks and don't see anybody with different color, apart from myself and I, and a couple of the girls from boarding school. So people would look at me. The bus driver wouldn't stop unless there was somebody else, Caucasian, standing at the bus stop next to me. Then they will stop. They wouldn't stop. I went through all of that. But my first year in Bournemouth, there is one thing I made a plan. I said, "Alima, you will never pay rent in England." And I've never paid rent in England. I bought my first property at the age of 25, and I've got other properties since, and I'm so grateful because I just knew that where will I go with my black face into an estate agent and asked to rent a flat in a conservative town like Bournemouth. I knew that wasn't going to happen. So I just knew I was going to become a landlady. I was going to own my own property, and I was going to have other properties that I would let out and just be able to have the life I've always dreamt of as a little girl from Freetown. And unfortunately,
can we clap for her? Yes, congratulations. That's excellent.
Amazing story.
Yeah, so I got married in Bournemouth. I've got 2 children. Sadly, my marriage ended in divorce. My son was 3 years old and my daughter was 18 months. And hence I was working with the NHS at the time. I had to work full time because I had mortgages. Because during that time when you had buy-to-let mortgages, it was different from now. I don't know if you ladies have any experience about the property industry. Things were just different then than what they are now. So I had to bring up my 2 children on my own. I used to wake up at 5 in the morning. I'll get them both dressed, drop them at childminder, which is just 15 minutes walk from me, catch the bus and go to work for 7 o'clock shift. Then I'll finish at 3 o'clock and pick them up. And my son, I found out a few years later, my son has got autism, which was another challenge. So the school was very, very helpful, the primary school my son was in. They called me in, they diagnosed, and it was really difficult to accept because I was blaming my ex-husband's gene. He was blaming my gene. And I thought, I haven't got time for all this slanging match. And I just focus because I'm just one of those people. If I want to do something, I just do it. And my son got all the help he could. And I went to a lot of seminars, workshops. And, so we just did the continuation from school. I went to school and sat and watched him in class. And I did what I could at home. I spent a lot of time with my son, more than I did with my daughter because of his needs. And now both my children, I'm happy to say, my son is a very, very gifted animator. He's been drawing Sonic, the head Super Mario and Sonic since he was 2.5. Yeah, he's very, very gifted. he spent 3 years in Coventry University because they both made me a promise, my 2 young adults. They said, Mom, when we grow up, we're going to go to university and leave you at home so that you can have a life because you've sacrificed so much for us. And they kept their side of the bargain. And I'm really, really grateful for that. So my son went to Coventry for 3 years and my daughter went to Brighton. And my son was in he went to Cal State for a year. He was in Long Beach. He actually went and lived in Long Beach for a year. That's my boy. I am so proud. I never, ever thought my son would ever leave home because of his needs. I'm just so grateful to the primary school because they gave him the foundation he needed in primary school, which meant he could, he went to mainstream school, secondary school, and was able. I dedicated my life day in, day out because I really wanted I wanted him to have an independent life. And I'm really, really proud to say that he went to university. I made a lot of trips to Coventry and I went to Long Beach. I traveled to California a few times just to support him. And he came back. He had a wonderful time in Long Beach. And I'm so grateful that they both graduated last year. My daughter now works at Great Ormond Street. She's a pediatric nurse. And my son is doing freelance at the moment and some part-time job. But his dream is to come to California. He wants to connect with Warner Brothers or Disney. That's his dream. He's always dreamt about that since he was 2.5 years old, and that's thanks to Barney, the dinosaur.
Alima, Oh, sorry, we have to take a break, but congratulations on your children and their success. And you have quite a story. I have zillions of questions I could ask. I don't even know where to start. But we have to take a break and hear from one of our sponsors. So when we come back, we'll dive into your story a little bit more. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The music, services, and programs that we offer at Listening to Smile are based off of scientific studies and research, along with our own personal experiences and testimonials from our clients and our affiliates that we work with worldwide. My own personal journey began in around 2010, and I tried to find relief from a chronic illness that I was diagnosed with. And the traditional ways of healing, they tried to fit me in this box, and that didn't work for me for so many reasons. And this led me to a self-discovery that I never expected to be so life-changing. Healing is multifaceted. It requires us to really look at our whole selves and to get really honest about what we see. I started to see movement towards recovery when I started to integrate yoga into my life daily. When I started to incorporate the music into all aspects of my life, including my yoga practice, my healing completely accelerated. And listening to Smile's music helped me to open my consciousness. I was able to open my eyes to new perspectives and make changes that I needed to make in order to recover. The most noticeable difference that I saw right away, like immediately after listening to my first frequency track, was how much my anxiety stopped, completely stopped. There was such a relief. My mind was actually quiet for the first time in so many years. I felt safe. I felt this comfort and this peace immediately. I continued to listen daily, and I found that amazing things were happening inside of me. I felt calmer, I felt happier. I felt like I was in this little bubble of peace. Physically, I started to see the changes happening. I started to see the things happening in my body that needed to happen for me to heal from my illness. I felt empowered, I felt hopeful, and something that I hadn't felt in years. This is why we at Listening to Smile integrate yoga and Listening to Smile music together. We see such a huge benefit from integrating the music into other modalities of healing. It accelerates these modalities, it steps them up to another level because it works on the brainwave states and the neural pathways in the brain. This is something that is not very easy for us to do alone at home, but the Listening to Smile music makes that possible. This is where real change happens. This is where the body and the mind sync up and work towards health of the being as a whole. That is true health. And Listening to Smile frequency music will get you there.
You're listening to Business Talk Radio, where we take business to the next level.
Hello and welcome back. You are watching Rapping with Dr. Jacalyn in the Name of Love. My co-host Kimmy Seltzer is in the house with us, and our guest is Alima Jalloh-North. And Alima just shared such an incredible story. Growing up in Sierra Leone, West Africa, she was abused, beaten by her father, by her stepmother, and her child. She was just a small young girl. Her grandmother became a role model, and then she had to leave everything, go into a completely different culture where she didn't feel so welcomed, and she decided that she was going to be a landlord and she was never going to rent. And she's got two beautiful children. So I think that's a lot of pain mixed in there. I don't want to just skip over it. So I'd like to just kind of dig in a little bit. My first question to you is, when you left, West Africa, and you were leaving the two people that had been beating you up and abusing you. What were your thoughts towards them? Was it anger, hatred, fear, all the above? Confusion?
Yeah, lots of anger and hate. Yeah, lots of anger and hate. And I hated myself because I was a good child, because my grandmother obviously have brought me up and we didn't get away with anything. So for the fact that lies were said about me, that's what hurt me. That hurt me, the lies, more than the abuse, because I got so used to the beating up that it was a way of life. I didn't feel pain anymore, physical pain. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, it totally does.
Mm.
Yeah, I had also, I mean, I'm sorry for being a little late, but just how much you were sharing your story and the pain that you were feeling as you were sharing it, and then you apologizing. And I just want to say, oh my gosh, like, first of all, thank you, and with no apology, because like you experienced and said, there's this feeling of being so isolated and alone when you're going through something like this. And by you sharing your story, you are now, your voice is getting out there to somebody else who needs to hear that, right? Like, and so I just want to, like, I guess, comment on that and make sure that didn't get lost, because that is so important in the journey, in feeling like there's someone out there who understands, who has been there, but then also has gotten through it. And that's my question, is I wondered, you said one of the things that got you through it was the positivity. What would you say to someone going through, maybe a little bit of what you went through, on how to be positive in such a like horrendous situation? Like, where does someone start?
It's very, very deep. It's more spiritual. It's not sort of on the surface. It's more spiritual, because growing up with my grandmother, she was very, very spiritual. I think that helped me a lot. My faith. Does that make sense? Because obviously, growing up in a Muslim home, obviously I'm now I'm a born again Christian now. I think my faith helped me a lot, because when you have faith, nothing matters. All your trials and tribulations, being a Christian or being a Muslim doesn't mean you're going to have an easy life. You will have troubles and tribulations, but it's how you get through them.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yes, a question I have for both of you, actually. So, Alima, I'm wondering, in order to move through all the different stages of growth that you've had, did you have to be able to face your abusers and tell them how you felt? And Kimmy, from your perspective as a therapist, is that something that's wise to do? So I'll start with you, Alima.
Yes, definitely it is, because when I went on my first holiday to Sierra Leone, I actually invited my dad. We met at the beach, Lomle Beach, and I was able to express myself. And he was really, really sorry. He had tears in his eyes when he thinks he's a grown-up man, and this is the man I was so afraid of. I couldn't even look my dad in the eye, because obviously with the culture thing, we have to have our head down when our parents are talking to us in that generation. So for the fact that I could sit there as a 20-something-year-old looking at my dad when we sat in that place, on that beach, and it was quite empowering, because I wasn't telling him because I wanted to disrespect him. I just wanted to free myself. It was a kind of healing. It was the first step to my healing. And he showed a lot of remorse, and I forgave him. And then about 12 years ago, I called my stepmother on the phone as well, and did the same thing as well, and just said, why do you do that to me? Why did you hurt me? Why did you do? She just didn't know what to say. She just said she's sorry. So, but I felt free, because it was something I had to do. It was very hard, very, very hard. But those were the two blockages I'd brought back from abroad to England, and it was really difficult. But what I will say to anybody that's going through any form of abuse is there's got to be somebody somehow. There are phone lines anywhere you can call for help. But if you feel that you connect with a neighbor or somebody at school, a teacher or a friend, just to talk about it, somebody needs to know so you can get the help you need. There's no shame. I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't deserve to be drowned in a bath of water. I didn't deserve to have cayenne pepper put in my eyes and been locked in a dark room. I didn't deserve any of that. So you're not doing anything wrong. It's just because you're a child, you're a minor, you look up to the adults who are supposed to protect you, and yet they're doing that to you. So please, please don't keep quiet. As soon as the abuse starts, talk about it there and then. I wish I'd done that. I would have had healing so many years ago instead of now. I've been in therapy for 2 years now. And I'll probably be in therapy for the rest of my life because there's so many. I just tucked it away at the back of the wardrobe over the decades. I just didn't talk to anybody about it.
Kimmy, what would you say to somebody going through it? Is it wise to confront your abuser?
You know, I don't think it's. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Alima. What were you going to say?
No, it's okay.
I'm just asking as a therapist.
Yeah, I was just going to add that, you know, I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. I think it actually has to do with, you know, the situation that the people are in and also the mindset that you have going in facing the abuser. Because, you know, number one, not everyone has the ability to face the abuser. You know, Alima, you did. And I think what was so beautiful about what you just shared is that you had the right mindset going in, knowing that you may not hear the answers you want to hear, and they may not have answers. But if you go in knowing that it's for you and having a release that comes from that, that's always right. You know, and it could be in a form of a letter. It could be in a form of art. It could be in the form of anything as a way of releasing and letting that go, knowing that, okay, I'm going to get this off of my chest, out of my body. I'm going to like speak my truth, have my voice with it. But it's for you, it's not for them. And I think that's where the work comes in, because I think a lot of danger could be going in, trying to get the answers and have everything go away and be fixed. And that's just simply, Alima, and I know you know this, that's not the case. So I love how you shared that, and I hope other people can hear that too.
Yeah, I think that's really important, because if you set yourself up that way, thinking that you're going to hear the answer that you want and a magic wand is going to come and take it all away, then you could be even in more pain, because now you feel totally defeated.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry, Alima, I definitely want to make sure we touch on the work that you're doing, because I think you're taking all of the pain that you have, and kudos to you for being in therapy and working through it, but you're helping other people for all these years. And I think that that's so important. So what is it that led you down this path to the NHS?
It's my grandmother again, because I can connect with old people. I just have this natural finesse about me, and I'm not trying to be modest or anything. I understand old people. And so I got this job as a cleaning lady on the ward. And then one of the nurses said, why don't you apply? There's some vacant. And I did. I got the job. And I just love the old humor, you know, because what I love about our patients, they're people. I see them as people. My colleagues do as well. I'm not saying they don't. I see them as people. And they remind me of my grandmother. And I know most of the war songs, you know, like Wish Me Luck, As You Wave Me Goodbye, Cheerio, Here I Go on My Way, and Daisy, Daisy, and all these songs. I know them from my grandmother. So I was kind of ahead of coming from my part of the world, you know, so it was quite a lovely feeling. And it's just really lovely to just see these people and just see them as people, because that's what they are. They're not people with dementia. They have an illness, yes, but there are still people inside there, encourage them to just be independent and encourage them to do as much as they can for themselves. A choice of clothes. Dignity is number one. I'm a dignity champion, by the way. And it's really, really important. We have to respect our client, regardless of the things they say or what they say. Obviously, they don't mean it. It's just I just find it so fulfilling that I can finish a shift, and they would say something that is so appropriate. And I'll be on my way home and I'll think, wow, I've actually achieved something today. They would say something really out of order, but appropriate to their spouse or their family who come and visit them. And also, I got involved on my ward where we won a competition, and we had like a tea room for the ladies and a hairdressing salon as well. And we used to do their hair, paint their nails, and have therapeutic session. It was just such fun. I was really involved with that because that was my favorite bit, actually. I love that aspect of it, where I could spend one-to-one, and you could just sit with an elderly lady or gentleman and don't say nothing, because all they want to feel is your presence, just your presence, to know that you're there. Because people with Alzheimer's, sometimes people think it's about how much you talk or how much you say. It's not about that. You can sit next to somebody. If they don't want to talk, they're still connecting with you, right? But a lot of people are not comfortable with silence in our world, are they? But when you work in a hospital like that, it's really important that silence is golden. We sit there, eat with the patients, on a dining table. And on our ward, we actually eat with the patients so they didn't feel that we're going to poison them. And naturally, with all this accusation because of the condition they have, and the condition doesn't make them any different. They're still people, they're still aunties, uncles, dads, some brothers and fathers. And it's just, my vision is to open a community center in Bournemouth to support people with dementia. This is one thing I want to achieve before I die. And I'm hoping that it will happen. That is my big, big vision. So if anybody wants to come on board to support me anywhere in the world, if you listen to this message, please, 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 I really want to open a massive community center in this town. I don't need the money. I just want to do it, give my experience, use my experience and my expertise, and just give back to my community. I've had a wonderful life in Bournemouth, regardless of all the racism, being spat at, egg thrown at me, people nearly knock me down with their cars or bike. All that doesn't matter for the fact that I just want to open this community center in Bournemouth. Please, if anybody is out there that would like to come on board to support me, I really will appreciate it. Thank you.
Alima, I am certain that it's going to happen. I definitely feel it.
I know it's going to happen.
I want to just ask a couple clarifying questions. So there was a period of time when I was growing up where people who were older, seniors, they were really respected and put on a pedestal. And then as I was getting older, it seemed to change. And the younger people were the ones and the older people, oh, they're old, they don't know anything. And then people coming down with dementia, it's like, oh, that crazy person, I don't want to talk to them. So have you seen a transformation where the wise ones, the older people, are more revered, they're more respected, regardless of what condition they might have?
Well, I think in our hospitals, I see it more there, but outside in the real world, I don't see it much. This is just my opinion. Obviously, because they are clients, we're obliged to respect them, and so we should. And also, I wouldn't understand why would a nurse respect a client at work and do something different outside. I'm not saying they do, but some people have different personality. Who knows? I don't know. But our patients were well cared for, and they were just really, really happy And as I said, when we won the award and did all these different therapeutic rooms in our ward, we had like 75% of falls and boredom. Patient didn't get bored anymore. The falls didn't happen because they were occupied by myself and the therapist team. We were entertaining them. We were doing different therapeutic things. We had the weekly rota, but as you know, you just never know. You could wake up tomorrow morning, could be like a bingo morning, for example. And if the patients are not up to it, then we can change. Everything was flexible because that's what it's all about, right? It's about them. It's not about us. It's not about ticking boxes. If they don't want to do any therapeutic thing in activities today, then they don't have to do it. We can just sit with them and know that they can feel someone's presence. It's all about valuing people, isn't it? That's all it is. It's simple. There's no logic in it. It's not complex.
I loved how you shared, because I don't think a lot of people know that if someone in your life has dementia, that maybe they just need you to be there. They don't need to have some, yeah.
All these people are not comfortable with silence, yeah, because there's so much going on in their head. There's so much happening, they're confused, perplexed. They don't know where they are. They don't know the time of day. They don't know the month. So we really have to kind of just put ourselves in their shoe and go with the flow. It's not about us. It's not about our target. It's not about us ticking boxes. It's about that. It's about that individual's needs. If they don't want to do anything today.
That's a lesson beyond just, working with patient. It's funny that you were talking about that. I literally just had a conversation with somebody about silence and being okay with silence. And that silence, because I work with a lot of people who are single, silence can be somewhat soothing and sexy and intriguing, and it is the sense of being, and that body connection is so powerful. I think that's such a beautiful message, I think, for everybody, quite honestly.
I agree with you. Alima, a question I have for you, for those who don't know, what are the signs of dementia, Alzheimer's? What should people be looking for? What do you see?
Well, people get confused. Most people will have dementia for a couple of years before the family would know about it. Whether it's a mom or aunt, uncle, they will sort of start forgetting things, like going to one room to get something or leave the oven on, for example, and something is just burnt for some reason. But I think one of the biggest one is the wandering syndrome. They tend to wander a lot at night. They get a lot of restless nights. It's not just a restless night where they're in bed, not sleeping, like maybe you and I. They would be wandering. Some of them will go in the neighborhood and ring people's doorbells, for example. And and it's amazing. Some of the female patients we've had in our hospital, for example, in the early state of dementia, they kind of, because they're aware of what's happening with the being forgetful and all that, they're really, really clever with it. They know something is not right, but at the same time, they know something is not wrong. Does that make sense? They know they're in a hospital because they're not well, but it's so many aspects of it. But the forgetfulness and just losing time, not knowing time and place where they are, and forgetting, things like phoning people at 2 a.m, just little things like that. But as I said to you earlier on, it's mostly the first few years. Some people, it might be gradual. For others, it might take longer. And, people should seek help. If you feel that you're living with elderly parents that are really, really confused or at risk, please seek help. There's lots of help out there, because the earlier they're diagnosed, you can get all the help and support you need wherever you are in the world. Well, especially in the Western atmosphere, in Europe and America and Canada and Australia, obviously, and the rest of the world. It's really a horrible. It's like people died twice, literally, isn't it, with dementia? The family have to grieve when their parents are diagnosed. That's then they have to grieve with the real physical death. There are no words for it. It's so disheartening. It really is, to visit your mother in a hospital and they don't recognize you. They're calling you somebody else. Your mother doesn't recognize you, or your husband, or your sister, or your child. It's really, really sad. And where so many young people have dementia as well. We have people in their 20s now. Different conditions. Some people may have accidents on the road, or some people may have certain illness that could lead to dementia. So dementia is no longer for the elderly. It's
very painful.
It is very painful. Yeah.
I want to make sure that we get to talk about your book. Kimmy, did you have something?
No, I just want to kind of put a positive button on all that you shared, and that, I love that you found something that's so hard as an anchor for you. And because of that, like how you're finding it healing for yourself and for them. Like it's a shared healing, both for the people you help and for yourself. And I think that's why, like, all that you talked about is so fitting for this show and the name of the show, In the Name of Love, because that pulls us out of everything, right? It is that love. And when you find that passion, that's what can drive you forward. So thank you.
Thank you.
And I think that that being with people on a regular basis who have dementia, that has to be difficult. That has to be something that, and you're putting your heart and soul into it. So really lucky to have you there doing that. I definitely know people with dementia, and it's not easy.
No, it's not. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
Tell us about your book.
Yeah, I want to hear about the book.
Yeah, how much time have I got?
How much time do you need?
Okay, so my book, I'll just tell you what led me to the book. The book, up till 2017, I was a very healthy young lady. I've done charity walks for my local hospital in Bournemouth. And I did 5 kilometers, by the way, in 46 minutes in 2017. And I think this was June. And August 2017, I went and had a hysterectomy to get rid of my fibroid, which was causing me a lot of discomfort. And my fibroid was the size of 21 by 18 by 23 centimeter. So it was a good size. And so unfortunately, during that procedure, my bowels were punctured. My bowels were damaged during the procedure. And so I was in a very, very dark place. I had no sensation. I couldn't feel any sensation to do number 1 or number 2. All I did was just take myself to the toilet. Every half an hour, I love to look at my phone. And so I live with chronic pain at the moment due to that surgery of August 2017. And this is where the book came into. I was really, really feeling low. And through the pain, I have anxiety. It gave me anxiety. My pain is not just ordinary pain. I go into labor every time I go to the toilet.
Oh my gosh.
I go into labor without the pregnancy and a baby.
Wow.
So it's really, really, it was very, very, very hard for me. I still live with the condition, but as you know, I'm Alima again. I just keep going. At the end of the day, things are going to happen in our lives, and we can't just stop and keep worrying about them. So I just keep living my life every day. There are days when I can't even see my front door because I'm in so much pain, because once I'm in pain, I have to go on the floor. And I'm on morphine. Fortunately, it helps sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't. And I'm on a lot of medication. And I just woke up one morning and thought I cannot afford to get depressed. I've had a terrible childhood, and now I've got all these wonderful things that I've achieved in my life. I have to, focus on the future. And that's what I did. I started writing my book that morning, and it took me 7 days to write my book. Day and night, I didn't sleep, because when I have the morphine, it makes me, I become as high as a kite. So, and being a teetotaler, it really, really works for me. I don't drink, I don't smoke, but the morphine, because when I'm in pain, when my pain is threshold is on 8 and above, I take the morphine. Below 8, I just take the tablets. So it works for me. So a bottle of morphine will last me a year, 100 mils. So I'm quite lucky, and I feel really blessed. And one important thing about my life, I've always lived my life in gratitude. I'm so grateful for everything I have. I'm so grateful to be where I am, and I'm so glad I'm not where I was. I'm really, really grateful for my life. And so I wrote this book. I wrote my autobiography, and it has opened so many doors for me. I've met so many incredible people. I met this lady in Tesco. She's the one that introduced me to that world in London. So she took me to London, and I attended my first event was with IMN in London, Nina and Richard. And my life changed. I went and met all these entrepreneurs, and I thought, what is the matter with you, Alima? You're not the only one in pain in the world. Hello. And that was my wake-up call. And that was it. And I just came and just wrote this book. And
that's it, huh?
It's simple. If I can write a book, anybody can write a book. It's simple. My book has got some mistakes in them. It's not perfect because I did all of it. I didn't want any, whatever you call it, what do you call the people that do the
publisher?
I didn't want to, yeah, the people that do the whole
editor
thing for you. I did it all myself. I typed everything myself. So there are some mistakes on my book. So it's not perfect, but you still get the story. At the end of the day, it's all about the story and Alima, isn't it? So yes, that's all that matters. And I'm just so grateful. It really has opened a lot of doors for me. And I'm really, really, really grateful. I never ever imagined that little girl from East End of Freetown could come to England, own properties, bring up 2 children, single mother with an autistic child, single-handedly, worked full-time. I've never claimed no benefit. I've done it all on my own, and I'm just thanking my God every day with this blessing, because I just feel so blessed. I really am blessed. I'm so blessed. I've got 2 wonderful children. They complete my world. I've become an author, and I've got this plan for my charity. And I can't wait to meet you ladies. I can't wait to meet you ladies. You have to come to Bournemouth on the opening of my community center. I would love you to come and do all the filming. You have to be a part of this journey. I would love you to come, please.
Alima, put it out in the world. When will you be opening the center? When do you envision?
Well, I'm still on it. There's a lot of process to go through. It hasn't happened yet. This is why I want people to come on board, because I want a building. I want to use a building that I can actually make, which will be like a building that I can actually decorate and make it fit for purpose. Because it can't just be, I don't just want to go and rent a room and use other people's chairs. I want to put my stamp on it. So I need my own building so to make this thing work for me and to be able to deliver what I want to do for my client.
So when do you see, even though it hasn't happened, when do you see it happening? Put it out there so it'll become a reality. What year? This year? Next year?
Next year, God willing. Next year.
All right, 2022 it is.
All right, we're going to hold you to it.
Okay, thank you.
We're recording
now
right
the pressure is really on.
Alima, your book is available on Amazon. We have it streaming here.
That's
so
right.
for people on the radio who can't read it, they just type in your name in Amazon and then they'll find it?
Yes. You can get the black and white version, you can get the colored version, and then you can get the ebook as well. Yeah. I'm hoping to get it to be an audio. That's the next plan. I want, because a lot of people tell me that when they're in their cars, they like to listen to audio. So that's my next plan as well. I would like to get it on an audio.
You know, that's really interesting. One thing I'll interject, we just had on a guest right before this show, and he's a huge business coach. He's got a Guinness Book of Records, on and on, 5 times international best-selling author and speaker. And I just published a book, and he said people are not buying audiobooks that much, because I was just going to hire someone to do mine, and he said people are not buying that much. And I think when I looked into it, if a paperback book, let's say it's $19.99, an audiobook might be $27, $30, $40. So I'm not sure if that's why, or if people want to pick up an actual book. So I would do some research before you spend the money doing that. Yeah,
I will. Thank you for the tip. Thank you.
Sure.
I appreciate that.
I just got it myself. So
thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, your story seriously is unbelievable in so many ways. But what I'm taking away from this beautiful woman with this great smile and this amazing energy, who is just constantly talking about how grateful you are. And that really says something, because for what you've been through, if you can feel that way, then that really says something to the rest of us.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank
you.
I
just want to also highlight that for me, the takeaway is for, just listening to how you've, survived all of this. There's 3 things that stand out that I think everyone can learn from. Number 1 is the positivity, just keeping that positive mindset. Instead of focusing on what you don't have, focus on what you do have. The second thing is the gratitude. Like, no matter what you went through, like you said, you thank God, you thanked everything that you even had. And then the third thing, which is really important, because many people might have the positivity and gratitude, but they don't have the third, and that is the action piece. Like, you took action. And the fact that you wrote the book, the fact that you're doing this with the center, the fact that you're like just making things happen, your kids are going to these wonderful schools, like those are all evidence of you really like doing everything with all of that you've been through and making it something positive. So thank you.
And the fact that you're talking about it, that's amazing. You said this is only the second time you've ever talked about it, right? Publicly?
Yes. It's been painful. I look forward to whenever I talk in the future. It is still very raw. As I said, I'm still on therapy. It's coming up to 2 years in September. I'm still in therapy because the book opened a lot of wounds for me. Yeah, it did open a lot of things I haven't spoken to.
Yeah, I mean, think about all the years that you didn't talk, right? And so for that much time that you will take to then get the word out, and every time you talk about it, it'll release something else and release something else. So just keep talking, keep sharing, because it's just only going to help you to heal too.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for this invite. Thank you so much. And thank you, Philip Chan. The international connector, Philip Chan. Let's don't forget the connector, the international connector, Sir Philip Chan.
He definitely is someone special. That is for sure. He's Yes. So thank you again for being here. We'd love to have you come back on one of our other shows and share your story again.
Yeah, please. I would like that. Please, just let me know. Please.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just go to our website. Absolutely. Go to drjacalyn.com, book your session. And I just want to let everyone know that we have a new show that's coming out starting next week on Wednesdays. It's called An Audience with Celebrity Psychic Gemma. So for anyone who's interested in having a reading, it's going to be kind of cool because Gemma will not know anything about the guest. I will not publish anything about the guests. The guests will not come on the show until the show is started. Then they'll be backstage and they'll have no name. So she will have no idea who anyone was because she wants it to be totally authentic. So that's kind of a cool show for anybody. Anybody who wants to get a reading, but you can't contact Gemma, and you can't post on your social media. So she gave me a reading yesterday, which was totally unexpected, but it was really cool. So
I'll be back with good news.
yes, definitely. So thank you again, Alima, for your inspiration and your courageousness and your positive energy.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you.
Yes, we'll see you again. Thank you. And you can go over to our Alima, you can go to our YouTube channel and you can watch this. You can go to Dr. Jacalyn LLC and watch. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Bye. 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 Bye.
Wow. I have to tell you, Kimmy, today we had 5 shows, and the stories, like Alima's, unbelievable. I mean, people have been through some horrific things, and they have gotten, it's like every story, just like, what? And I'm sure as a therapist, you've heard so many painful stories, but these people just find this incredible drive and energy and not be a victim.
Exactly. And I think that's the theme of what all the stories, you know, as people are sharing, the resiliency that comes from them has to do with their mindset, their approach, and their perspective. Because really, that's it. Like, because someone else could have experienced what Alima experienced and not been in the same place that she is, but she chose a different path. And I think that's the empowerment, is that we get to choose our own path, even with, you know, some of the adversity we all might go through. And that's why I love these stories, because it's very inspiring. Because like she said, like, if I can do it, you can do it. And I think every guest has said that in some way, shape, or form. If I can do it, you can do it.
Yes, it's so true. I'm so glad you're taking this journey with me, because these are important stories to get out there, and not everybody would want to be a co-host. And here, because sometimes people don't want to hear stories, right? They don't want to face what the truth is in life. But it's great to have you here, and especially your background. I'm going to highlight you. Tell us all about Kimmy Seltzer and what it is that you're doing. What's new?
Oh, gosh. Well, you know, I've been busy behind the scenes, getting ready for my new class coming up. We're actually launching July 28th of Get Your Sexy Back. And I know it's timely. It's time. Everyone needs to get back out into the world, but sometimes that's not easy to do when we've been in a cocoon for a year and a half, right? So each class is going to be targeted with a specific topic, a little bit of group coaching, and then I'm going to give you all challenges around each topic to hold you accountable, because really, as we heard in all the stories that we've been hearing, it really is the action piece that solicits the change. And I know, Dr. Jacalyn, that's how you roll as a life coach. It's how I roll as a coach. We all need that accountability and motivation. So if you are interested in that, go to askkimmy.com, drop me a note, say, Kimmy, I'm interested in that class. I'm happy to share with you what that is about and put you on the list. Or if you want to sign up early, there's definitely room now, but there may not be as I open it up to the world. So that's what I've been up to. And then I'm off to visit my family in Chicago for the next couple of weeks. So I'll miss you, but I will be listening. I will be here in spirit, and looking forward to getting back to the show mid-July.
Well, I'm excited for your Get Your Sexy Back, Get Your Sexy On. Which is it?
Get Your Sexy Back. Whether you had it before or not, it's still relevant, because you're still going to learn. I'm going to make you learn this stuff and feel confident going out there.
And I love that. And what I think about feeling sexy is that you really you can do it just for yourself. You don't have to do it for someone else, right?
Well, actually, that is the whole message. You know, I think so many times we focus on doing it for the man, you know, and that's not even what sexy is about. It is about looking in the mirror and saying, I like what I see. I like what I got. I'm going to go out there and get it. And really, because when you feel sexy, that's when other men find you sexy too. So that it is about you. And again, it's the empowerment piece. So each week is going to be about, you know, your image, body language, conversation skills, how to get over fears. It's all the different things that usually trip us up. And so once you start feeling confident, yeah, it's super attractive.
Definitely is. Well, I'm excited for you, and I'm excited for your break. Go enjoy yourself, and we'll miss you. I'll hold the fort down. And,
I know you can, and I know you will. Yes, and thank you for having me as part of the show. I absolutely love it. You know, with all the different shows that I have, this is unique, and I like it that way. You know, because it all relates to how we feel about ourselves and how we interact with each other. So. Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. You are a delight to have, and you bring a different perspective because of your background, because you're a therapist. And I think when we first started talking about doing this show, it was more in alignment with like relationships and dating and so on. And it's gone in a different direction, which I think is fabulous because
I know
we're hearing stories we never would have heard and meeting people we never would have met.
Yeah, absolutely. And it still relates to dating, you know, like in my podcast. And by the way, my podcast's name is Charisma Quotient, if anyone's interested in it. I always say at the end is working on you is working on your love life. I think sometimes we compartmentalize it where it's like, okay, over here, I'm going to work on my dating life. But all these themes, all the things that people are bringing to these stories are part of working on your relationships and dating. Because when you're working on your own stuff and you're doing things to better yourself, you're going to attract the right partner for you. So I feel like it's all related.
And that in and of itself is sexy, isn't it? Working on yourself. People see it. You're getting your act together. You're learning more. You're taking care of yourself. I think it's beautiful.
Yeah. And Dr. Jacalyn, I know you're going to get back out there. You're already sexy. I hope you know that.
Well, thank you. You know, Kimmy, something I want to share with you before we close out. I find it interesting, like the different shows that I have, I dress differently accordingly. And there's some shows I always get dressed up for different reasons. But I actually have people reaching out to me to tell me how I should or shouldn't be dressing.
Really?
Yes.
What are they saying? What's the feedback?
Oh, that's an interesting outfit for your show. Or do you really think you should be wearing that? Or I think I would have chosen something different. And I just shake my head and go, okay, thank you.
Well, this could be a whole other show, right? And this is why I do webinars on and how like image does matter. And it does create like it creates a judgment and a reaction out of people, good, bad, or indifferent. It doesn't matter. And it just shows you how visual we all are. And that does make a difference in like, you know, kind of the message you portray out to the world. So yeah, that is interesting, right? Especially if it was a radio show where it was only audio and they couldn't see you. But now that we have the visual aspect, it brings another layer to it.
It definitely does. But I try to be true to myself. I've always had kind of a sexy dressing style. And that's just it. That's at this age, I'm pretty happy with how I am.
Bingo. And that's all that matters. So all the people. And if that's what you want to exude and portray because that's who you are, then you keep doing that. That's awesome. I love it. You are sexy.
Well,
besides
thank
the point.
Well, so are you, Kimmy. So are you.
Thank you, darling.
All right, my dear, I will say good night to you now and enjoy the rest of your day out there in California. And I will wish you a very fabulous vacation and see you when you get back.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. I'll see you later.
Thank you. Bye-bye. What a wonderful day of programming we've had. I was just thinking to myself, all of the topics that we've covered since this morning. We met with two gentlemen, one who was homeless and had addiction problems, incredible anger problems, and took all of that frustration, anger out on the canvas and is doing incredible things with young people using paints. He said his paintbrush is his weapon, and then the canvas is where he throws all of his anger. He's helping other young people so that they don't fall into the same patterns that he did. We had someone who shared that she had been raped at a very young age and nobody supported her. She didn't have any place that she felt safe, and for decades carried this pain around with her, and she shared that story, which was wonderful. Then we had a business show with an incredible person who is very well known. He also struggled with alcohol and drugs and ended up in prison. and now is commanding stages around the world, helping other people, helping business owners. He's also going for a second Guinness World Record. So that was amazing. And then we had a Better You. We had someone presenting on the best way to give a speech, a presentation, so that you come across as credible and confident and comfortable in what you're doing. And then we had an expert in the area of an advocacy for domestic violence and what you need to do to stay safe if you are someone who is providing services for people who have been abused. And now we just had this phenomenal story. So I'm so grateful that we have this platform where people feel comfortable to come and share. So thank you for that. Thank you, Philip Chan. Thank you, my co-host. Thank you, my guests. And a special thank you for those who haven't seen on social media. I was really fortunate to meet someone named Sam Shaker. He has a nightclub in the area of Soho in the UK. It's called Jazz After Dark. And many famous people, celebrities, politicians, presidents even have visited him there. And he is an artist. And actually his Jazz After Dark is where Amy Winehouse was discovered. And they became very good friends. He was like a second father to her. So he's painted many portraits of her, of Obama, of Trump, of movie stars. And after we did our interview, he said he wanted to paint me. So he did, and it arrived yesterday. And I can't even tell you what a gift. I want to make sure that you can see it. What a gift this is. That the man took all this time. It's an oil painting. I mean, the depth and the layers here are phenomenal. So I just want to say thank you, Sam Shaker. I saw that it's your birthday today also. This is truly a gift and something I will never forget as long as I live. If you would like to have Sam paint your portrait, please go to Jazz, Jazz After Dark, AFTER DARK. Put it in Google. You can find his website. If you'd like his email, you can contact me. And you can always go to my website, drjacalyn.com, and get all the information. We also have a newsletter that comes out every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And I have a whole section of the newsletter that features Sam and his work. So if you're an art collector or just somebody who wants to see what Sam is up to, please do subscribe to our newsletter. You can do that through the web.